If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Flipping back the calendar to highlight yesteryear's finest and exploring the vast archives in cinema history. This is the Movie Review Rewind podcast on the Sobros Network. Still need a new theme song. We're at this point, we're 3 months into the new year, and we still don't have a new theme song for Movie Review Rewind. I always forget about that. Nonetheless, we are here for another episode of the Movie Review Rewind podcast on the Nashville Movie Dispatch. Your host for the show, the EIC at Sobros Network, Big Natural Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley, collectively at Sobros Network on all social media platforms. NashvilleMovieDispatch.substack.com for all of our work covering the movie industry, including this podcast. Joined, as usual, for a look back at film history with the what is your position title, Brandon? I don't even remember. The resident film critic.
Yep.
Of Nashville Movie Dispatch. You're also a board member on the Music City Film Critics Association. I haven't even been drinking. I've had one beer today, and that was an hour ago.
Now you're drinking seltzer.
Polar ginger lime mule seltzer. Yeah,
sounds great.
Board member of the Music City Film Critics Association, and a member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association as well. How are you doing on this fine spring day?
Oh, my God. I love the weather. It's so nice. I usually go somewhere tropical this time of year.
In March?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Did not know that about you.
Mm-hmm. I always go somewhere tropical like, oh, man, where did we go last year? Arizona.
Arizona, tropical. You like all the beaches in Arizona?
Yeah. I got oceanfront property.
Down in Arizona.
Yep. Did you get that reference?
I did. Okay. You know, when I heard that song. No one else will. When I was a kid, I used to listen to that song and think, George Strait's fucking stupid.
Yeah. And who's he talking to? Yeah. Who's the idiot?
Who's falling for this shit?
I recently heard that there's a radio station that I love that plays 80s and 90s country. And that guy has too many fucking songs.
He does. Like, it is... Man,
I didn't even realize he sang.
I don't even know what the... you get to a certain point, like, there's too much to keep up with.
I think I read where he has, like, over 50 number ones. Number ones.
Well, no, he put out an album years ago.
That had
it was like
all
50 number ones.
Oh, I guess he's had a couple since.
Has he? I don't know. Is he still doing music?
I think he still does. I think he still does CDs. Yeah. I think he still does records. But then I feel like, it's the same 3 Patti Loveless songs, the 3 same Vince Gill songs, but George Strait,
man,
hammering them out.
Just doesn't stop. Prolific. He's a jackhammer.
Diamond Rio.
Rio.
And Sawyer Brown.
Yeah.
Their songs are still so catchy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good for them.
I do. I love it.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about the Sting.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was made in the 80s, right?
From 1973.
Ah, close.
This is one of those, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like I wasn't a big movie guy growing up. I didn't really start going to the movies until I was a teenager, and that's what we did with our friends. After 2000, on Friday night, that's how we all hung out. It was like going back to going out to Opry Mills and meeting at the Donaldson Target to carpool.
Oh, God, we did. And I forgot about that part. I just remember meeting at your house, and we tried to trade up who would drive because I still hate driving.
Well, my house was in Gladeville.
Yeah.
And you were also in Gladeville. So we would meet, And if anybody was like, because people used to stay the night at that house.
We had a few that would always.
So they would meet over there too. And then we would go meet friends coming from the other side of Mount Juliet at that Donaldson Target and then carpool.
Because you could
pile
just,
in one car.
Road. I still take that back road.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And then you'd go to Opry Mills. We'd watch a movie. We'd go to Applebee's for dinner. And then everybody would come back. The people on the other side of Mount Juliet would go to their home. Everybody else would come back to Gladeville, and we'd stay up all night doing Lord knows what.
Do you remember when I used to crumple up receipts and act like I was going to break windshields, and I would make the noise and run to people's? I thought, I don't know why. I was at Kroger the other day. I was with my family.
You did it?
And I thought about it. I really did. And I thought, I think I would get in trouble.
Your wife would not think that's funny.
That or someone else who maybe thinks I really threw something at a car, because these days who knows?
You never know. Yeah, I don't think you can.
Even back then, probably I could have gotten my ass kicked. I just never thought about it because,
We used to play it up, too.
Can I get someone to laugh?
We used to play it up big time, too, because I can remember like you would pull it out of your pocket and people would start saying, no, Brandon, no, don't do it. And you'd say, I'm going to do it.
As if I have a 50-pound rock. And I'm like, this is going to cause some damage, everybody.
You'd rear back and like somebody would grab your arm and somebody else would come up and grab your chest. And then you would start flailing like you were trying to get away. And eventually you would, and then you would throw. But the best part was that you made the sound effect as if you just busted someone's windshield.
You had to run.
Yeah, you'd throw that
you
wadded
might
up
stay
receipt.
at the car for 5 minutes because you ran so much, and everyone else didn't. But
do you know how stupid that probably looked to anybody that saw it?
Oh, I'm sure.
It was like this group of like 4 or 5 teenage boys. And one of them has a receipt and throws it and just makes the sound.
Which I don't even know if anyone can even hear it.
Everybody just takes off running. Like, what?
So stupid.
The fuck is wrong with these people?
But you know what? We would go every Friday, even if we went to see that Harrison Ford K-19 movie. And I don't even know if anybody wanted to see it.
Yeah, I don't think so. We would just go see whatever was playing.
Yeah, we were hoping it'd be a good one, but then around January, you're like, oh God.
Just see whatever's out.
What the hell is this going to be?
Or we'll listen to our
also,
friend and go see Sleepover.
how much money did we spend to go see a movie? I mean, clearly it wasn't the price
it was
what? Now.
Man, I can remember, so I used to get, this is telling of me, I guess. I used to get $5 a day for lunch in high school. And I would skip lunch and just keep that $5 so that I could go to the movies. And by the end of the week, I would have $25. And $25 when we were in high school would get you a movie ticket. It would get you a bagel and cream cheese from the Starbucks and Barnes & Noble and Opry Mills. Rest in peace. And it would get you dinner at Applebee's. And I would still have like a few bucks left over that I could stash for next week. And eventually I might have like $30 and then I could go buy a movie at Tower Records or something.
Now, truth be told, there were times you didn't eat and you ate other people's food off their plate when they were done.
Yeah.
So you're a real scavenger.
Yeah. Well, people used to call me the garbage disposal. And they would just.
But you would eat like, I'm not talking like some fries, like sometimes, and I honest to God, I can't remember because I would get the same thing every time. But you would like, someone may have chewed on half a burger and be like, I can't finish it.
I know, and it's so wasteful.
And then
I'm like, I can't let that burger go to waste.
You're not going to eat that?
Yeah, just hand it down.
And then over time, I thought, that's really smart because I bet he saved a ton of money.
I did. That's how I saved money. Well, I don't want to say that's how I saved money. That's how
You bought other stuff?
I put off getting a real job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, even better. Better.
I didn't have to work during the week. I could just starve myself, totally healthy to do as a teenager, starve myself through the day, and then I would come home and just ravage whatever was in the pantry. And but then I got to keep that $5, and then I just, if I needed extra money for something else, I could go work at my dad's body shop on the weekends and pick up like $50, and I was rich. I was set. I didn't have to work for another month.
I think it's so funny that we did it for so long. And then I realized it was around that time where, like, as we kept doing it, and then you kind of realize other people, like, didn't want to do it anymore. And I think that's when I realized it wasn't that I love movies. And I realized that my love for movies was just different because I could just keep doing it. And I eventually just went by myself. Not on Friday nights. But it got to a point where like it wasn't a thing to invite everybody. I just went when I could go.
Well, and then a
it.
couple years after we were out of high school, Providence opened up out here in Mount Juliet, and that kind of changed the game because you could just go like during the summertime. We're home from college, like go on a Tuesday morning.
It wasn't really an event anymore like it used to be.
And it wasn't like.
That's true. And then, by the way, in case anyone wants to know, that Applebee's closed. I guess it's Opry back. I don't even know if that's open anymore.
Yeah.
Is it even a Radisson? I don't know.
No, it's no, I think it's still a Radisson.
Is it?
Yeah, that's where we stayed. My niece and father-in-law surprised us during COVID on my wife's birthday. Didn't tell her they were coming to visit.
Is that where they stayed?
That's where they stayed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. But
and we stayed there too. And it's a nice hotel.
Is it?
Yeah, I like it.
I wish Paul Newman and Robert Redford would have gone with us.
Well, I bring that up.
I forgot where we were.
I did not mean to go on a 10-minute diatribe about the old days, but I do like reliving the good old days.
Yeah. It seems like such a
I just wasn't
far away land.
Yeah, I know. I just wasn't a real movie buff.
Yeah.
Didn't really go to the movies until then. I don't think I really started appreciating like the art of film until I was even older than that. But I never had a real interest to go back and catch some of the greatest films in history. Probably not even until Sobro's Network, until I'm like a grown adult, and then taking an interest in what's coming out more and reading reviews and hearing people point to like, oh, this is, like this movie from 4 decades ago, and kind of scrolling back through and like some of the stuff that pops up on TV, you see on streaming services. It's like, I don't know. It really kind of inspired me to go back and start catching some of the greats from yesteryear. Like we've done an episode of this podcast on Citizen Kane. I never saw Citizen Kane.
Me neither.
Revolutionary film at the time.
I've been in the same kind of thing. I've thought it kind of started with like, man, I haven't seen some of these like peak Nicholson films, like Five Easy Pieces and Chinatown. So I've seen, I went back and saw those, and then I started seeing where man, I've never seen Citizen Kane. I've never seen North by Northwest. I've never seen.
Yeah.
And so I have.
Nosferatu.
I've gone back. Yeah, the original.
Yeah.
The OG. So I've gone back over the years, and I've gotten to go to Belcourt and saw North by Northwest. I went to see the French Connection there. Because I started thinking like, God, I haven't seen like. I keep seeing like, oh, Gene Hackman, like The Conversation and French. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, I've never even seen these. And Amadeus is one I still want to see. Yeah. I have never watched that, and for me, there's always like these films that are always Vertigo. I haven't ever watched all the way through, so I'm still in the same boat where there's stuff where like I was always up to date on what came out year to year, not like, hey, did you see this movie from 20 years ago? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. And this is one I've never seen. This one.
This feels like one of those. Oh God.
Oh my God. Are you okay?
One of those films that like was just a massive hit back in the day.
Oh, you can tell there's real
commercial success, critical success,
sex appeal.
Yeah, it was a big deal back in 1973 when this film was released, and I saw it of all places walking through a flea market in Old Hickory, Tennessee, and seeing the DVD of it for sale for $2. And I thought, you know what, man?
Steal.
Paul Newman, Robert Redford. This is a famous film in film history. I'm going to pick this up. And then when I told you about it, we were kind of like, yeah, that's a good movie review rewind episode.
I've always wanted to watch it. I think it used to be on Netflix or something. I can't remember. But yeah, I won like a ton of Oscars, and I never watched it.
Yeah, so
I was pumped to watch it for the first time.
If you're unfamiliar, Wikipedia sums this up. The Sting is a 1973 American heist film.
Oh, a pretty film.
Directed by George Roy Hill and starring Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Robert Shaw. Set in September of 1936, involving a complicated plot by two professional grifters, played by Newman and Redford, to con a mob boss, played by Shaw. Hill had previously directed Newman and Redford in the Western, another one I got to go back and see.
I want to see all of it. I haven't seen all of it either.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from 1969. The screenplay, written by David S. Ward, inspired by real-life cons perpetrated by brothers Fred and Charlie Gondorf, and documented by David Moore in his 1940 book, The Big Con, The Story of the Confidence Man. So, kind of interesting to read. Like, yeah, this is pulled from some real life experience,
inspired by true events, as they say.
But it's a really fun plot, I think.
It is,
and it's just really two charismatic performances. Robert Redford, Paul Newman, 1973. I mean, can you get more movie star than that?
No.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Those are two handsome men.
And I don't know what it is about the masculine urge to smoke cigars and play poker, but that's rampant in The Sting as well.
Yes.
Also, as a potential trigger warning, I will say the liberal use of the N-word in this film is quite jarring.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
you don't expect it.
Yeah, I'm saying you don't expect.
Yeah.
I understand it's made in the 70s.
Representing 1936,
right? So you're even talking, I mean, before World War II, Great Depression stuff, and it's
jarring in this day and age. So if you can't handle it, then I would say probably stay away.
And I think it's not like I mean, Tarantino's used it 1,000 times, but
we're also 38 years old and grew up in Middle Tennessee. So
right.
We
but
heard
I think
like
a
our
film
teachers
like
saying
this,
it and
I didn't expect because there's not like they're saying the F word or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's a pretty clean movie, so
it's like a normal thing.
So the usage of that word wasn't seen as a big deal.
Yeah, everybody
at all.
Back then was just like, oh
yeah, that's fine.
They're probably saying it in church on Sunday morning back then.
They So yeah, I think it's just because you didn't. Yeah, it's a nice warning for those that don't. But I will tell you, it's such a breezy.
Breezy's a good word for it.
And it's over. Is it 2 hours? A little over 2 hours, something like that.
I don't know. I think it is. It's 129 minutes. So yeah, 2 hours and 9 minutes.
But it's very breezy, and like you said, it's very stylish. It's of a it's a timepiece that Redford and Newman just slide right into. So much of their stuff is in this film, and probably in other projects. It just seems so effortless. It almost just seems like they didn't have to do any prep. And shout out to Robert Shaw. I mean, I don't know if he was drunk on this like he was for Jaws, but but he plays the perfect kind of.
He is kind of like a. I don't know. There's
in generic terms of villain, but I mean, I liked his kind of approach to it. I think I've seen characters that act like him for I don't know how long, but to know that he was kind of did it back then, and it fits the narrative and what we're watching. But he's not just some dummy.
Yeah,
and he's not just he's not just a name to because I mean he's a big name in the early 70s, and
it felt somewhat prototypical of that sort of like mob boss type of villain.
Yes,
but I kind of feel like that's part of the fun of the movie is that they kind of do a lot of. They're not reinventing the wheel, but I think the style and the performances and the execution of it are what make it such a fun, special kind of movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that his portrayal of the villain is kind of like that. Like it's not some revolutionary performance or character, but the way it fits in with everything else is like it makes the whole perfect.
He's not out of place.
Not out of place.
But he's also not the mustache twirling.
Yeah,
either.
Sure.
So I agree. And there is that like. This movie reminded me of Ocean's 11, and I'm talking like the Clooney Pitt one. This felt like a Soderbergh before Soderbergh.
Yeah, sure.
But then you realize how much is used from the Sting throughout so many films. And they probably borrowed it from someone else that did something too. I feel like that's always the case for everything. But it is. It's clever, but it's not it's not too complicated. It doesn't get too messy up in the details. It does kind of like to trick you a little bit, but it's never like a full on like. And maybe back then it was. Nothing was that shocking to me when you kind of find out the game that's being played. But I still, it's almost like very few times, and I know we've said this on this podcast, where it seems like, oh, I bet you they had fun making it, but it wasn't fun watching it. But that's not the case for The Sting. I think the people on the screen and the people watching that screen are both having it's a good time.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought when the movie ended was like I could watch that any day of the week. It's one of those like I think could be on in the background as I'm doing something around the house, and I can just sit and watch 5 minutes of it, any 5 minutes of the film, and just be like, oh, that's fun, and then go on about my life. Like
now,
just such an easy movie.
I will say, no way does a movie get nominated and win Oscars. A movie like that win that much now.
Yeah.
That I feel like even in like, let's just say everybody's in their prime. I feel like that's a good summer movie, and it's movie stars, but I don't.
What do you think?
It's funny how those movies, how they play then, and then you think of just like it changed, Newman and Redford out for two, A-list now, and it's like, one, it's been done before, but two, you also know like it wouldn't be taken air quotes seriously.
What do you think the closest thing we get to it in the modern era could be? So I'm kind of leaning.
Are we talking like the movie and Oscar stuff?
Yeah, because I'm thinking like Barbie could be
where it's like a commercial and real critical.
Yeah. But even then, like I don't think Barbie actually won a lot of stuff. Like they were in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one that comes to mind, I guess, is either some of the big ones where, you've got like Titanic or Return of the King where they make a ton of money but also won a lot.
But those aren't really like fun movies either.
No, I think one that's more of a mainstream one, which Titanic wasn't fun, but it was mainstream.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was going to say Gladiator, just because it's more of just a mainstream, but so was Titanic. I mean, Titanic was out for 8 months in theaters, but I can't really think of a movie like that with the same kind of, like in the same kind of genre.
Maybe like
to get recognized or especially to win.
Maybe if like The Fall Guy had a big run at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Or like Hitman.
Oh yeah. Oh, the
Glenn Powell.
I don't know why I thought of that.
But that didn't even get a theatrical release, did it?
If it did, it was very limited because it was a Netflix one.
Yeah. So I mean,
I don't know. It would be
like
something like that, though. I think Hitman is kind of a good recent example of something.
Easy watch that's fun, makes you feel good. There may be a few little twists and turns, but I think you're right to that point. I don't know. Maybe you would say like, did the Ocean's 11 movies?
That's what
have a big run?
Saw it as. Was like, oh, that's what like Soderbergh was doing, and. I mean, Newman and Redford, kind of like a Clooney Pitt. I mean, it is kind of that. I feel like just because of them just teaming up, it's kind of like if Wolves was somehow critically acclaimed and made tons of money and then it was nominated. But it also shows you kind of, I think, how like the Academy was kind of more fun back then.
Little easier.
It doesn't have to be a biopic or something that's 3 hours and like really sad and depressing.
Yeah.
Not that all of them have been.
Or like, the artistic expression.
But like, hey, did you did you hear? Well, I can't think of anything.
Yeah,
I think about that a lot.
And Twisters wasn't good. I watched that the other night.
That's all right. It wasn't that great. It was disappointing.
2 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I think I was around there.
Yeah.
But it is funny just how something like that connects on such a level, but it's not a serious movie. It's not dramatic.
I mean,
nobody's playing a president or anything, but it's just like, they would make those movies now, and they do, but it's not. It would never be like, okay, on Thanksgiving weekend, we're going to push this.
Yeah.
And we're going to say, okay, best actor, George Clooney for Ocean's 12.
What about the Academy giving Coda Best Picture? I mean, that's not like, it's like an uplifting movie, but it's not like,
it's not
fun, I wouldn't say.
It's not that just kind of like,
but they still showed a willingness to like reward a feel-good kind of film, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the point we're making here is that what happened with the Sting just doesn't happen anymore.
As good as it gets?
Well, I like this. No, wait. I don't think it. Did I watch? No, I'm thinking of Something's Gotta Give.
Yeah.
I never saw As Good as It Gets.
It's kind of like the rom-com. I mean, but it plays more of a drama, but then I'm kind of surprised at that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like something that kind of hits, but I think the best thing is if one of these Clooney Oceans movies was an Oscar contender, is what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. I can jive with that. Talking about the Oscars, the Sting really they won 7 Oscars that year, including Best Picture, the big one.
Yeah.
Best Picture, Best Director. They got, let's see, what else is here? Best Story and Screenplay based on factual material or material not previously produced or published. Today's age, adapted screenplay. Yeah, let's just roll with that. They also won for the score.
No acting, huh?
Costume design, art direction, and film editing.
Yeah, a lot of that production design stuff in the 70s, depicting the 30s.
Well, it's they did good work.
Yeah,
it's a good looking movie for 1973.
Yeah.
You mentioned the
it looks better than some movies that will come out this year.
The acting field that year for Best Actor. You want to talk about some names?
Well,
brother.
I always knew Robert Redford never won an acting Oscar. He's only won for, I think, picture as a producer and director, and I think it's for Ordinary People. Newman had, but I knew he didn't do it for this one.
Redford was nominated for Best Actor.
I figured he's been nominated.
In the field, Al Pacino for Serpico.
Yeah.
I never saw that.
Yeah,
look at that young Al Pacino.
Oh yeah, that was when he was on a roll.
Jack Nicholson nominated for The Last Detail.
That's one of the ones I watched.
That's coming up. That's screening somewhere. I saw that, or maybe I'm thinking of it streaming. Anyway, okay.
Well,
keep your thoughts to yourself. I feel like
well, Belcourt showed Chinatown in January.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Because I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but it was actually part of this whole of people that died in 2024. So it's like in tribute, and the whole thing, like James Earl Jones, they had one for him. But anyway, okay, so Pacino, Nicholson.
Marlon Brando is nominated for Last Tango in Paris.
Oh, okay.
Another one I haven't seen.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I have not seen all of it. I haven't seen a lot of Brando's work, actually.
But do you know who won it? None of those people.
Oh, God.
Robert Redford, Al Pacino, Jack Nicholson, Marlon Brando lost.
I feel like if you tell me who was nominated for Best Picture, I might could tell you who won for Best Actor.
No, you could not.
Oh, so he wasn't even a part of that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Probably not. If you'd read me all 5 names, I might could have, but I don't know. That's a bit. I know Jack didn't win for Last Detail, and I know. Here's what's sad. I know what some of these guys have won for.
Yeah.
So by process of elimination, I probably could have gotten it because I know Jack didn't. Pacino didn't win till Sin of a Woman. I know Redford never won an acting one. And who was the other one?
Brando.
I probably maybe, if just knowing those names, but I didn't think he won for that one because I just remember he won, I think it was for The Godfather, and that's when he had the Native American come up there. So I'd have to hear some other movies. I couldn't even tell you. What's the movie? That'd probably tell me who won Best Actor, though.
Save the Tiger.
Oh, no, it won't.
Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon? Oh, man. Yep. I would not have thought him. Wow.
So, no...
wow.
No supporting actor.
Newman didn't get nothing.
No.
No Robert Shaw. I guess
No Robert Shaw. The supporting actor. The winner was John Houseman in The Paper Chase. Vincent Gardenia in Bang the Drum Slowly. Jack Gilford in Save the Tiger. I guess we gotta watch Save the Tiger. Randy Quaid.
Yep.
In The Last Detail.
Yep. That was his first movie.
And then Jason Miller in The Exorcist.
Oh wow.
The Exorcist also, side note, was nominated for Best Picture.
Really?
I did not know that. Yeah.
Wow.
Best Picture that year, The Sting beat out The Exorcist, Cries and Whispers, A Touch of Class, and American Graffiti.
Oh wow.
So pretty big field.
That's a bit. That actor is a hell of a.
Jack Lemmon beats out Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, and Robert Redford.
And for some of those titles, it makes you really want to watch Save the Tiger.
I know.
Because I'm like, what was that even about?
For the adapted screenplay, The Sting beat out American Graffiti, Cries and Whispers, A Touch of Class, and Save the Tiger.
Oh, wow.
So we got to do another episode on Save the Tiger.
Save the Tiger.
Yeah, we gotta jot that one down so we don't forget it. But yeah, a real run at the 46th Academy Awards back in 1974, obviously for the 1973 year for The Sting.
Can I just tell you what that Save the Tiger? Troubled garment manufacturer Harry Stoner tries to make his small debt-ridden factory survive. Hires an arsonist to burn down a building, so he can collect the insurance money. He pimps for clients and has flashbacks to the war.
How about that?
Wow, of World War II.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
We'll have to look that one up. That'd be a fun one.
That would be very interesting. And you know what? This is a time where that movie, hour and 40 minutes.
How about that?
In this day and age, that would be 2.5 hours.
How about that? Yeah,
no
you ain't kidding.
questions asked.
You ain't kidding. I like to get little anecdotal, vibes of the times kind of deal. Maybe not necessarily looking at box office numbers or Academy Award wins or something like that. I want to know, like, what do you remember about this film? So I actually went to my mother and said, because I knew at the time, 1973, she would have been 22 years old. She was going to the movies regularly back then. That's what.
Well, that's when like two movies came out and you got 6 months to see them.
Yeah. But I asked her, I'm like, hey, did you go see this movie? And I described it to her, and she's like, I think I saw that, but I can't remember. 1973 kind of deal. But I got to talking to her about it more, and she kind of said like, yeah, no, I remember this being like a big thing back in the day. And, you talk about like Robert Redford and Paul Newman, and it's like to think back to that experience, because it came out at like Christmas time, and like, I don't know, to put yourself back into 1973, like to hear my mother describing it, like, yep, everybody rushed to the theater.
It was pandemonium for Redford and Newman.
Yeah, like you said, like.
But Butch Cassidy was a huge hit.
Yeah,
and so that's, the reunion of director
like
and stars.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to think about it in terms of like what we experience today with like Barbenheimer and like all the Marvel movies coming out, and like
all of that has kind of dampened. Barbenheimer is the last, like, and I honestly think it'll be years and years before we have something where there's so much hype, so much excitement, and they both make a ton of money.
Yeah. But
people were excited dressing up.
I'm glad you said that though about
Marvel's not so much.
Like back in the days, like there'd be two movies playing for like 6 months, because when I was talking to her about it and thinking like, man, this doesn't really happen. It feels like this only happens with these big IP movies these days, where people go to see their Marvel movies or like the Barbie, the stuff like that.
Star Wars.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it happens too often. I know it happened with Oppenheimer, but
when's the last? And especially two, they come out on the same weekend, because a lot of times they avoid that stuff. A lot of things just align, because I remember them saying, one of them's gonna change dates, and they never did. And I'm like, and I think people were probably shocked by that, the fact that one did not go from the other.
They stood pat.
Also, not both movies are even. It looks like one is solely for one part of the audience and another part of the other. But people went.
And
people went and enjoyed both. And it also helps when they're both really good movies.
That too, yeah. But it immediately reminded me to bring up The Fall Guy again. But last summer when The Fall Guy came out, it's like, here's an original story, original kind of movie that a ton of people went to see. It made a lot of money at the box office, ended up being one of the year's like 20 highest grossing films, which in this day and age with all of the IP movies that we just talked about, like that's an accomplishment for a movie like that. And it kind of felt like people were surprised because The Fall Guy did get a lengthy run. It's like it wasn't out there making like $200 million every weekend or something
weekend,
like that.
It wasn't considered a huge hit.
But you leave it in theaters for like an 8-week run, and suddenly you look up and you're like, oh, how the hell did The Fall Guy make all that money? It's like, well, no shit. Stuff stays in theaters. It presents more of an opportunity for people to go see it. So I was reminded of that when thinking, learning what a box office success The Sting was. It was one of the highest grossing movies of that year.
Well, remember back then a movie cost 2 Pepsi Cola tops. So you could go see it a few times.
It's just another thing that has changed about the movie going experience is like,
oh my God,
if you want to see something in theaters, you better go the week it comes out, because you don't know.
By that third week, it's like that one time, and it's like at 9:30 at night. Or that 12:30 in the morning or afternoon.
I remember last spring wanting to go see Sasquatch Sunset, seeing that it was playing at the theater out in Smyrna, and I remember even telling you, I'm gonna go this weekend to see Sasquatch Sunset. I see that it's showing at the theater in Smyrna, and I was looking at the movie times, and they had times on Thursday.
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, they just haven't updated the new week.
Yeah.
But it'll be playing. It just came out a week ago.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, I'm going to go see it this weekend. And then when they actually added the movie times for Friday, I did not see Sasquatch Sunset on there.
Yeah.
And I realized, it got 1 week.
It doesn't matter. These windows, these theatrical windows are shorter and shorter.
Yeah. But good for The Sting back in 1973.
Good for The Sting.
Being a cultural,
and good for Newman,
cultural phenomenon.
And Redford, because, when we were, by the time you're getting into, the time we're born, much less by the time we're actually old enough to kind of, like you said, to somewhat appreciate it or go to the movies, Redford and Newman just weren't Redford and Newman. I know, I know them, but I saw them mainly as older men so it's really cool to kind of see, like, I knew they were a big deal, but to kind of see these things, these projects that they've left, I love Paul Newman in The Road to Perdition. It's so good, but Cool Hand Luke, I saw that in films at one of my film classes and stuff, and these guys were, I know people like us, and especially younger people, can't imagine it, but it didn't get any better than those two.
Nope.
And when you can get them in one. And I also like that they were actually really good friends all the way up until Newman passed away. So I really, I enjoyed this one. It was hard for me to believe it was such an Oscar heavy hitter, but it doesn't say anything as far as how the movie is. It's more of just the flow of it and the genre that we're just not used to getting the kind of recognition, but it's more of like, in this day and age, it would win whatever that popular movie Oscar is.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It was very, like I said, it was very snappy, and it's very kind of, it's classy, but it's fun, and it is kind of like, it's about scoundrels, really.
Yeah. We haven't talked a lot about the production design, but it did obviously win the Oscars for good reason. I think the costumes were sharp, the sets were sharp. I really liked, from like just the complete visual or sensory experience.
Yeah.
Like the
and it's
music,
kind of
the
right
old
from the beginning.
Yeah,
from the opening scene of their first little
Yeah, the old timey music, the entertainer played on the piano, the old timey like Norman Rockwell looking title cards in between scenes. It's very.
It tried to capture the time that it's telling, which is great production design.
Yeah, it's a complete picture from a production design standpoint.
Yeah,
how do you feel executing on that aided the film and the overall reception to it?
It's almost a character in itself. I mean, if you can't portray that time period, then nothing else is really going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be great, but if they're not, even just with costumes, much less the environment that they've created. But it has to be firing on all cylinders, and I mean that hasn't really changed as far as filmmaking goes. But it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I think it is kind of the attention to detail that separates the good from the great. And, it's like you could have just gotten Paul Newman and Robert Redford together, Butch Cassidy reunion, and called it quits. But I think it's the attention to the detail on the production design that makes it much more of a complete film.
Well, and I was born in the 30s, so there's a lot I could have nitpicked. Mm-hmm. But they basically got it right.
Nailed it. Yeah. Even the use of the N-word.
I thought about emailing that director, but I held back. I held back.
Real portrait of the times. I want to leave you guys with this question. In the film,
can I just share something?
absolutely.
This is not about Save the Tiger, but
okay.
But I was wondering about that movie, and then of course the first thing I look at is like the director. I'm like, well, is it like what did he do?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, folks. He went on and directed the first Rocky and the first Karate Kid.
No shit. How about that?
He did all right for himself. He also, I think, made every other sequel possible to those two movies. But
that's okay.
But yeah, that's fine. So anyway, we'll have to revisit. But I was kind of surprised. Listen, those three. That's a pretty good career, apparently.
That is.
So
yeah,
all right,
I would say so.
Question. I'm ready.
So we hear some fun gangster nicknames in this film, like Big Alabama.
Yes.
Dippy Burke, Limehouse Choppy. Or Chappie. I can't read my own hand.
I think it was Chappie.
Limehouse Chappie. I wanted to ask you, what would your con man name be?
Oh, God.
I go with, I had a couple. Sloppy Troubles. I think that's
Sloppy Troubles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Stoney Riffraff.
Ooh, Stoney Riffraff.
But it's my real name. Stoney's my real, so I don't think that would be very smart, very wise of me.
That's true. Gosh, that's a good question.
I didn't think of one for you. I should have. But
well, my mind immediately wants to go to something like a slippery or like a Sticky Fingers. Is that that's a Home Alone reference, isn't it?
Well, that's
what he wants to be called, right? Or Sticky Bandits?
There's another group, something.
Oh yeah.
And he wants to be like them, so they come up with the Wet Bandits.
The Wet Bandits.
They
not
leave
the
the water
Sticky
running.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I don't know. Maybe like maybe like a Slippery Shane Scoundrel.
There we go. Slippery.
Or maybe I wanted to do a Slippery Vic, but I can't come. It has to. There's something that there has to be something after that. I feel like, but a Slippery Vic. But then of course we're getting into names now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like Stoney Riffraff, but I can't use that. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we'll just go with Slippery
Vic Vengeance.
There we go. That's
How about that?
That's a little menacing.
Yeah, that's
it's not
true.
very charming.
No,
charismatic.
It's not. That's true too. How about the old
the old razzle dazzle?
How about that wink-eyed whistle?
Wink-eyed whistle.
How about that? That's you'd want to at least meet me.
Yeah, I'm gonna jot that one down. I'm gonna put that in our
wink-eyed whistle.
In our episode description, instead of Stoney and Brandon talk about the sting, wink-eyed whistle and sloppy troubles break down the sting. Well, that's going to do it for us. I gave this a 5 out of 5. I don't know if you have a star rating, but I respect its place in film history. I love Paul Newman and Robert Redford. I think there's a fun little twist at the end of this film. It's not like you can't see it coming, but it's nice. It's a good, easy movie.
The last couple of lines in the film.
I don't remember them, but okay.
It's basically, he talks about...
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Redford talks about it towards the beginning. It's not with Newman, I don't think, but basically he never keeps his money. And when it's all said and done, and Newman wants his money, he's like, no. I wouldn't. He's like, I'd spend it anyway. But it's not just that he's not like, he's obviously knows himself too well, but it was also never really about the money.
Yeah.
So I like that. I don't know about 5 out of 5, but I would say at least a 4. At least a 4 out of 5. I mean, it would be one of the best if I saw it within that year, which I think only 5 movies came out that year. But,
well, The Exorcist was one of them.
Yeah, well, people know how I feel about The Exorcist.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Movie Review Rewind podcast here on Nashville Movie Dispatch. Check out all of our work at nashvillemoviedispatch.substack.com. Join the community there. Subscribe to the Nashville Movie Dispatch wherever you take in your podcasts as well. And until next time, you stay classy, moviegoers.